Welcome to For the Love of Wrestling. That's the podcast that technically you came up with.
I did. I came up with this name. I did.
Tell me again, how'd you come up with that?
Well, we were at WrestleMania. What was this last one in Vegas?
41.
We were at WrestleMania 41.
Yes.
And you kept talking about like different things, and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. And I had suggested like, oh, we should do a podcast where you teach me all about wrestling because I don't know wrestling well. And I like the world whenever I'm a lore girl. I like a good lore.
What kind of lore do you like?
Okay, well, let me get there.
Okay, all right.
I like a good lore. And so when we were talking about it and you were talking about like, and this happened, I was like, I should really learn more. And then I was like, we should make a podcast about me learning it. And then I was thinking about it and you were like, yeah, it's a good idea. So, my brain starts to imagine all the details that aren't really important, like the title or
Like the title?
like the title or what it's going to look like. The minor details after everything else is set up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, for the love of wrestling. And then I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I suggested it and you liked it.
All right. Cool.
No,
I love it. I love that because I was like, I really love wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why this episode today is called A Wrestling Love Affair.
For the love of wrestling.
Stop talking. I'm just kidding. But maybe that could be our intro. I don't know. But today's episode is our first pilot episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to learn more about your lore. Obviously, I know you. So I always tell everybody there are different moments in my life where I fell in love. 2019. Technically 2018 in October, I started getting feelings for you.
Okay.
2019, I fell in love with you. But then I want to tell you something. I fell in love before. I did. I'm sorry. You don't like that? I'm being honest.
Keep going.
I fell in love before.
I know.
And it wasn't you.
I know. You had a girlfriend long before.
No, not even that. I fell in love with WWE when I was a tinny lad, when I was a little boy.
So your boyfriend?
No. Wrestling, does it even have a gender? It's just a company. Just a lot of guys. Anyways, I fell in love with wrestling when I was very, very little. So it was super awesome for me growing up. I got to watch it. Obviously, we went through the phases where wrestling wasn't cool anymore after the Attitude Era, which we'll share a little bit about. And then, we went through the PG era, which is kind of where I grew up on. And then eventually it turned into what it is now, like the Netflix era, Renaissance era. That's when everybody started coming back in. But I was always a fan. And so I love the lore. I love that it's one of the best things in the world, in my opinion. And I love that you love it. So, I forgot your mic.
I don't know if I would say I love wrestling, but I love that there is a lore behind wrestling. And I love lores.
Okay.
I like the idea of there being a world that's kind of made within our world. Or just like anything. Any kind of lore of like anything nerdy. You know what I mean? Lore. Just like lore in general. Like I love lore, not a specific lore. Should we name our child Lore?
No.
Okay.
What kind of lore do you like? Talk to me. You like a lot of things. Obviously, everybody here is starting to know that I like wrestling. But what kind of lores do you like that you grew up with?
Oh, man. I mean, I like the lore, like Avengers,
Okay, so
like
you like
that
Marvel.
Marvel world.
You like the Marvel world, okay.
And I like that storytelling. Or Harry Potter.
Okay. It's a good one.
Or I think I appreciate lore as an adult more than I did as a child. I don't think I really have childhood lores that I was like, oh yeah. Maybe scratch that.
I was gonna say.
Avatar: The Last
Yep.
Airbender.
You didn't bring that up at all.
I didn't, and I'm thinking of it now.
Yeah.
That was my favorite show growing up. And I
Okay.
think because I liked the world that it built. I liked the world that it was able to expand on. And then Legend of Korra came through and, expanded on that as
Okay.
well. And I like that world building, which is why I think in another lifetime, or maybe this lifetime, just in another season of my life, I would really like Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. Nerd.
But I'm
Nerd.
not there right now in my life.
You're not there right now. Okay.
If anybody is a dungeon master and wants to teach me how to properly play, I would be
That'd be awesome.
very appreciative.
But you are in the lore, not lure. You're in the lore of wrestling now. And my job for the next episodes is to hopefully catch you up on years of wrestling that you have missed out on. Right?
Here for it.
You came in what time? Do you remember what was like the main storyline that draw you into wrestling? Obviously it was WWE. That's like the main one my wife sort of watches. Also, this is my cat, our cat Toothless. He also is a wrestling fan. He has high flyer moves just like Jeff Hardy, just letting everybody know. So if he does a backflip here and you guys start kind of going crazy, make sure to show some love to my cat Toothless. We also have another son, Griffin. Griffin's more introverted. He is by himself under the bed, but Toothless wants to be part of the podcast. So if y'all can show some love to our son Toothless. So Toothless, do you have any words for us? Just sniffed the mic. That's all he did. He just sniffed the mic. You could have just said that. You know what I mean? So anyways, what was the first like storyline that you saw that you were like captivated by, that was like, this is something that's interesting? Like, I mean, there's been a couple storylines going on during this time, but was there a storyline that you were like, hey, this is it? Like, this is the one I want to continue watching and investing my time in? Because we have a little bit of time in this life, and how we spend it matters. And that story, you spent some time watching. What was that storyline in WWE that?
I don't know. Let me think about that. The first like real wrestling that I remember, I don't know if I would say I got into, but I got really intrigued.
Okay.
This is besides a very brief moment when I was in elementary school.
Ooh.
And I turned on the TV and I saw The Undertaker like put someone in a coffin.
Ooh.
And so I was like, The Undertaker! And that was like the only wrestler I knew.
Right
I knew
over here.
nothing about...
He's right there.
Right here.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about wrestling. I didn't understand it. I didn't even know what it was, other than I knew my dad wrestled in high school.
Oh, right. But not WWE.
Not WWE. He just wrestled in high school.
Okay.
And then I saw wrestling there, and I was like, this is so cool. And I think I watched it maybe one day.
Really?
It was like a very brief thing where I was like, this is so cool. And my friend was with me.
Wasn't your brother watching it or something like that?
No.
I thought it was your brother. Never mind.
Mm-mm.
So you just turned it on and randomly?
It was with my friend, my neighbor up the street.
It was probably a Friday, because Undertaker always came out on Friday Night SmackDown.
Okay. So then it was probably a Friday. And now and I was like, this is so cool. And then someone told me it was it was fake. Someone was like, wrestling's fake. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I just didn't watch it.
Okay.
And then years later, we were married.
Wait, no, there was another time before that.
No.
Yeah.
You asked me what's the first time that got me into wrestling.
Okay,
I'm
but
telling you.
there was another time.
Okay.
You were watching WrestleMania, the one where Ronda Rousey was fighting someone.
You know what? You're right.
That was WrestleMania 34.
It was Ronda Rousey's first
WrestleMania
debut on WrestleMania. Wrestling.
Yeah.
Wasn't it just that she wasn't in WWE before? And I didn't know what I was going over to. I just remember someone said something about Ronda Rousey.
Right.
I didn't really know who she was, but I knew her name. And I got invited to just a watch party or whatever.
WrestleMania watch party.
I didn't realize it was a WrestleMania. I didn't realize anything. Like I actually forgot about that because up until years later,
Yeah.
when I was like, oh, Ronda Rousey. Oh, did I watch something? I guess, yeah, I technically watched that, but it was
Okay.
very not memorable for me.
Okay.
Because I didn't know what was happening and I didn't know what I was watching.
It was probably WrestleMania 34. Ronda and Kurt Angle faced Triple H and Stephanie McMahon because that was like her first wrestling match,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. Fun fact. Just letting you know. All right. But then you were going to say something else.
Yeah, I was before I was
but I had to
rudely
add it.
interrupted.
Everybody you technically watched two. You saw two times. You were exposed to it twice.
Yeah, but you asked me what was the most, like, what got me into it.
Okay, gotcha.
And Ronda Rousey was really irrelevant.
Okay, gotcha.
She was.
But it was a fun fact, though.
It was a fun fact. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that really pushed me into like, okay, maybe I should. This is interesting. Was you were not watching wrestling that much when we got married. You kind of fell out of it a little bit.
I did, but I wasn't confessing watching it because I was afraid what you were gonna say.
So you were watching it on the side.
Kind of. I was keeping up with it, very, very, very vaguely, very vaguely. But I also told myself, if this woman knew that I watched wrestling, would she make fun of me? And therefore, would she leave me?
Already married.
No. Before that, when we were dating, 2019. This was like when Game of Thrones was big, and I was really into Game of Thrones.
Oh, maybe we weren't married.
Yeah. So I only know that because in 2019 was like there was like before the pandemic, and then there was WrestleMania 35, and I was just y'all know what I'm talking about. That time of wrestling was just so dry, like a drier than a dry rub chicken wing, and I literally was like, I don't know if I really want to watch this anymore, but I gotta keep up. You know what I mean? It's like your family in Mexico. You want to keep up, see how they're doing. Anyways, so I would barely keep up, but I was like, if she found out that I was somewhat interested in it, would she make fun of me and therefore leave me? Because I wanted to impress you, and I didn't want to show you my nerdy side, besides Game of Thrones.
Interesting.
Yeah, but keep going. You were saying something.
Yeah. It was 2020 when you started, like, vocalizing the fact that you like wrestling, and you started, like, getting into it more and like watching it while I was around.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think the one that I remember the one that really is highlighted in my brain of like where I started to learn a little bit of the lore, started to learn a little bit of like, oh, this is like really interesting. That was Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Tribal Chief. See, I know some things.
Yeah, she's wearing the sweater. She's wearing the sweater.
And it was when Brock Lesnar brought out a
forklift.
A forklift.
Oh, that's when you remember that?
That's the thing I remember. And I was like, what is happening?
2022.
That and the fact that you kept telling me Brock Lesnar looked like my nephew.
Oh, I did say that.
You were like, this guy right here looks like your nephew.
Yeah, the picture of Brock Lesnar when he was a baby looks just like your nephew.
My nephew, when he was a baby, was a little beefy.
Yeah, a little beefy.
He was cute, but he was beefy. And you were like, that's little Macklin right
I don't
there.
remember that part.
And so
I
remember being like, oh, that guy right there. That's interesting. And so that, was that a WrestleMania?
That was a SummerSlam. He lifted the whole ring.
Okay, it was a SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And I remember that fight. And I remember... I kind of remember you turning it on and seeing like little things of like they had beef, but I wasn't watching at that point.
Yeah.
I think that was the first one I sat down and watched it, and I think I watched the whole thing.
Okay.
And
you did go to WrestleMania though. We were watching it in Baltimore in the theater. That was Roman versus Brock. But this was the most memorable.
That was the most memorable one. And I was going to say, and then I do remember that one. We watched it in the theater in
WrestleMania.
Because I am from Baltimore.
38. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were visiting my family, and he was like, I need to watch this. And so we went to that. And I remember Sami Zayn fighting the guys from...
Jackass.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, oh, this is interesting.
Okay.
What am I watching?
Yeah.
And then I think that WrestleMania as well, it was
Brock versus
Roman
Roman
Reigns and Brock
for
Lesnar.
the 9th time.
And I think Roman Reigns won,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was really butthurt about it.
No. Yeah,
Weren't they
yeah.
upset? They were like, "This is stupid." Or I think it wasn't a good. It wasn't good.
It was like a quick match.
It was, yes, that's what it was. It was really quick.
And they combined the titles.
Right.
The Universal.
And that's when
and that
Roman like went on his like whole spree.
Yeah.
For a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had
Alright.
both the titles for a while. So I remember a little bit. But I don't think I was. It's like these like snippets of like almost like snippets of memory, like, you know, when you think back to something and you can only remember snippets. I feel like that's my relationship with wrestling. It's just like snippets of like I know things. I think the longest or like the most into wrestling I got was the lead up to this past WrestleMania.
Okay. Really?
Where cuz you I think for me, the reason why I find wrestling interesting is not so much, I'm not sure if it's the wrestling itself or it's the way that you kind of sold it to me. Because it's kind of this idea of, we all know it's not real.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's real enough that these people could easily get hurt.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like kind of like an improv or like a live action Avengers film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like you have a superhero, you have a villain, and there's a script that's happening, and you're just watching them act live.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting to me. And I think you had kind of sold it to me that way.
Yes.
And I was able to rework my brain of, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And when Cody Rhodes came back, and I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And Seth Rollins, who I did know Seth Rollins, and I knew very early on Seth Rollins became one of my favorite wrestlers, partly because every time he came out, he looked so cool. And I love a good outfit. And he and Cody had beef, and he hit Cody really hard, and Cody broke his bicep or something. Do you remember that?
Yes.
He was out.
It's a different the way it turned out was different. He hurt himself while working out, and then he came into their third match all bruised up, and then they had a wrestling match while he was all bruised.
He hurt himself working out?
Yeah,
oh
he like,
gosh.
you know, it happens sometimes. You pull too much
true.
on your chest, and then his whole like basically muscle of the chest fell off.
I mean,
yeah, but that was really interesting. I remember you were like, "What the heck?"
But I do think just in it of itself, it's like, yes, maybe it's not real to the point of like they're not actually going to.
It's real to me, damn it.
They're not actually gonna like do these things for real. And I know they used to do like sometimes do stunts like really hitting or really like whacking with real metal chairs.
Yeah.
But I do. It is kind of like a stunt double doing all their own stunts. And there's risk to that, and you can easily hurt yourself. So there's a level of reality to it. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you literally like put it the way that I feel like I sold it to you. And wrestling is all about selling. You know, even wrestlers have to sell their moves. The booker has to sell the show. The contracts have to prove to the network that what they're displaying is good. So everything about it is about selling. And I think it's kind of cool that, it was cool in the 80s, cool in the 90s, still cool in the 2000s. Then like 2010s, it wasn't cool anymore. And then it's kind of cool now to like wrestling. You know what I mean? Now everybody wants to join in. And I'm like, where were you guys at? But it's okay because I like having more people. So I was going to ask you that question. What do you think of when you think of pro wrestling? Do you think the same thing you talked about, or is this a different thought you get?
Yeah, I would probably say I think of that. I think of people.
Okay.
Like John Cena.
He's gone.
R.I.P. He's not dead.
He's not dead. He's just
gone.
in wrestling heaven.
And I think of our times at wrestling events, but yeah, I would probably say that what I talked about. That's how I see it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So some information that I think will help us kind of go along through the weeks. So I'm gonna I have some stuff down that I'm gonna share with you, and I'm gonna share with our audience. And basically, some of you guys might already know this. Obviously, you're probably watching it just to see her reaction. And also just letting you know the wrestling IWC. I'll start there. There's this thing called the IWC, which is the Internet Wrestling Community. We'll start with that.
Okay.
Internet Wrestling Community is probably gonna be the people watching this video, and they are very, how do I say it, rude. So they might be saying some stuff in the comments, like for example, she's saying Rollins instead of Rollins, and it's like, okay,
Did
I
I
get
say
it.
Rollins?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
crabs.
but
Sorry,
I'm just letting
I
you
did.
know because they're very annoying, and sometimes some of them could be called marks, which I'll get to in the future. That's another episode.
I know a Mark.
You know a Mark. I know my best friend Mark, but
That's the Mark
that's
I
not who I'm
know.
referring to when I say that people are marks.
Okay.
But it's a whole different story. All right, we'll talk about that later. So, the people like wrestling for 4 things. Okay, we'll start there. Wrestling
All right.
101 right here. Okay, 4 things. Number 1.
Wait.
Yes.
Wrestling 101. You should put that up there. Like a little.
Just kidding. So people love wrestling. One, for the storytelling.
Okay.
You talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
The storytelling is at its finest, one of the best, right? I think more recently, I don't know how it is going. It's kind of all right now, but during like the 2022/2020, mainly 2023, 2024, which is when you kind of came in, the storytelling was at its finest, right? They were connecting things all together, but ultimately what draws people to wrestling is the storylines, right?
Yeah.
The storylines are basically like the betrayals, the story of the underdog, family drama like the McMahons, right? Redemption arcs, right, with certain wrestlers who sometimes they might be dealing with some stuff outside in their real life, and somehow they display it in the ring. And so those are like kind of like the big storytelling that bring people in, right? Especially the underdog story. The most recent one was Cody Rhodes. Everybody loves a story of his was finishing the story, and that's what brought people in to that.
To finish the story.
Exactly.
You said that all the time.
Yeah, I would say that all the time. So, but everybody would too. So, so there's storytelling. There's characters, which is probably, in my opinion, the main one that brings the whole world together.
Okay.
Obviously, some of these wrestlers, it's Toothless again. Some of these wrestlers, already had their own identities before, like the creation of like wrestling, But I think the most notable person, which it's mixed reviews from everybody, but the most notable person, sorry for my cat, the most notable person that created most of these characters was Vince McMahon. So he was the mastermind behind a lot of these characters that came together. Characters like when I say WWE, what's like the first 3 that come to your mind? Like the most basic ones that you could think of.
Basic people?
Wrestlers.
I
Characters.
think John Cena.
John Cena, right?
I think the Undertaker.
Undertaker.
And just because you talk about him all the time, I think of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I'm wearing his shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Everybody always think of The Rock. They think of Hulk Hogan. They think of Stone Cold. They think of The Undertaker. They think of all these people. These are the characters that people remember, right? And the cool thing is that in every decade of their life, sorry, he's distracted me a lot. He's so cute.
Should we take him out?
No, I like him. People are gonna like my cat, all right? And if you don't like cats, screw you. But yeah, I'm being for real.
He's a mark.
IWC.
He's being a mark.
No, I'm not a mark. All right, I'm not a mark. I also just realized we didn't even say our names.
I was gonna say the same thing. We didn't.
Okay.
We never said our names.
It's a pilot episode. We're all learning. All right, we're learning. Do you want to start? Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Natalie, and I am a wrestler amateur fan.
Okay, and my name is Byron, and I am a long-term addict to wrestling. I love it. It's in my veins.
We are a married couple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where one of us is obsessed with wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
the other one.
It's obsessed with other things.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah.
That's true.
I agree. So now that we got that out of the way, which is super important, storytelling,
Okay.
characters, right? Sometimes they could be goofy, sometimes they could be inspirational, but they bring something to the story. 3 moments. People are excited for like emotional payoffs. Like the big one was Cody finishing his story.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about Kofi Mania, Daniel Bryan winning. Stone Cold declaring himself like Austin 316. Like those are like the big moments that people remember. Um, and then for the community, you I don't know about you, but I know when we went to the last WrestleMania, you got to know, like, we were just walking around and people were just casually talking to you,
Yeah,
like
I
if
do
they knew
remember that.
you know what I mean, like they knew me. And I think that's why I love it so much. It's because a lot of us kind of like understand this world, and we get to bond together when we see each other in person. And I think that's the greatest thing that we can offer to each other is our friendship, and we're growing with it. So I think that's why I think it's funny, because the IWC talks a bunch of smack online, but then when we're all together, I feel like for the most part, we all kind of like understand what's going on, and we're all kind with each other, and we're all like excited together. And I think that's the thing that brings us all together. So whether if it's a negative thing or a good thing that's happening in wrestling, it always brings people together. It's brought us joy, it's brought us laughter, it brought us tears. It brought so much into our lives. And even when our lives have been mundane, we still end up really liking it, because um it kind of helps us kind of like go through life. And even when we're dealing with our own stuff, it's a way to escape from it. So I think that's what brings everybody together. So those are the 4 things that I think I could think of right now when it comes to why people love wrestling.
I will say that.
Yeah.
In terms of the community,
Mm-hmm.
I have seen firsthand like
Yeah.
how nice everybody can be. Granted, I've also like seen you talk. I'm so sorry. I feel like I have like too much hair on.
I know. I have Tulis's hair as well. My bad.
Coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But How to Train Your Dragon is another lore
Oh
that I
yeah,
love.
another lore that you
As
like.
you can tell, as I
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
my cat
Obsession.
toothless.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah, I am right.
A slight
Who
obsession.
names a cat after an obsession?
Me.
You do.
Griffin is also named
I
after
couldn't name my
Harry
cat
Potter.
Stone Cold. I couldn't name him
You
something
wanted
else.
to name our cats Naruto and Sasuke.
Yeah, because that's another
Except-
community, which resembles wrestling in a way, the anime world.
Okay.
So we'll get that's a whole different episode.
I just want to remind you that they're my cats. They're
Okay.
my birthday gift that you
All
got
right.
for me. So they're my
All right.
cats.
Yeah.
Anywho, I've seen the wrestling community firsthand, and I've seen it. Like I've seen and heard you talk about how the wrestling people can be butt heads on like media and stuff, and they're always complaining about something, or they don't like something. And then I've seen some guy on YouTube who's like, this is trash, and every episode he talks about how it's trash, and I'm like, at what point do you just stop watching?
Yeah.
Just, if you're gonna complain about it, just stop watching. However, I've also experienced in person, when we go to events, where everyone's just like, they just talk to you, like there's no like beef, or like everyone's just super friendly. And like in Vegas, when we were in Vegas, like walking around, like there were wrestling everywhere, and it was just like you could so easily make friends if you wanted to.
My brother did. He was making like friends left to right.
I think got a few people's numbers, and like then you connect with them online. I think you did that one time where you went to an event and you came home and you're like, yeah, I met this guy.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, it's so cool. Interesting of how like it's like this camaraderie. Is that what it is?
Yeah, sure.
Is that the word?
Yeah, that works.
I hope that's a appropriate word.
Yeah, it's not a bad word.
Yeah, I know I'm thinking of a bad word. Um,
Oh, I see.
but yeah, it's like this like nice like group
Community. Yeah. Hence hence I mentioned it's community.
community.
Everybody needs community.
Community. Everybody
Mm.
it's community.
Yeah. So, I mean, I mean, you experienced it, which is why
Mhm.
we're doing this whole podcast. You know what I mean? Because you want to learn more. You want to grow into your wrestling knowledge, and so hopefully I get to help you with that. So yeah. So let's just start from the beginning, right? So wrestling when it
Wait,
first started. Yes.
we have to time travel.
Yes, we have to time travel. So
We're back in the year of.
I can't remember the year, but ancient civilization.
Okay.
Just kidding. There is a saying that wrestling started in the circus,
Okay.
and there is hints of fighting happening like literally in ancient civilization. I think we can start there.
Okay.
There has been evidence of tournaments of people fighting, sometimes to their deaths. But ultimately, when we think of like Rome and we think of the Colosseum, they fought animals, but then also a lot of fighting between two human beings for the entertainment of others. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll start there. I'll start
And
there.
then like jousting was a thing.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fight each
Exactly. That's right.
other.
That yeah. So I mean we could look at different cultural like areas and we could see there's always fighting for the entertainment of others. And then we could fast forward a little bit more, and there's that saying that wrestling started in the circus. So a lot of wrestling, people make fun of it, but it kind of did start originated like a circus acts for others. And so that's kind of like where like the main details came from of some of the words that we'll go over like kayfabe and all that kind of stuff. Some of the terms actually they do come from the times when they were in the circus,
Oh,
right? Yeah, which is
really?
really interesting. And so,
Are you gonna tell me later?
yeah, I am. And I could even I don't even have my phone, but I could search up the exact terms. I didn't write them down, but I know that kayfabe was one of the terms they would use in the circus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, to
Okay.
basically make sure to keep the mirage of what's going on real, so that other people don't have to see it. You know. And so then afterwards, years just probably we're talking probably like the 50s, the 60s, mainly also the 70s. The United States was broken up into we're talking US wrestling by the way, was broken up into different sections, different areas. There was the West Coast, there was the East Coast, there was just different states that represented wrestling. And then they were all divided by each other's borders. So wrestlers used to visit certain cities and then they would wrestle, and then they would be owned by a certain person in that company. um, then one of the wrestling companies was the WWF, Worldwide Wrestling Federation, which was started by Vince McMahon Sr. And so he basically had his own wrestling company, which is Vince McMahon's dad. And I forgot where it was, but it was in the East Coast. And he had his own wrestling company there.
Maryland.
That's where she's from, it's actually a city that had a lot of wrestling history, just letting you know.
Maryland.
Along with Philadelphia, New York, all those areas. Anyways, eventually what happened was his dad passed it down to Vince, which is the Vince we know. And then what he decided to do is to go above and beyond and basically start taking over all the areas. He wanted to make wrestling into one major attraction and not that ones that are split into different states. And so he would go basically and buy off all these wrestling companies, and everybody in that wrestling circle did not like that. Everybody was afraid because they were messing with their money. He was messing with their money, with their talents, and so he would go around and offer money to some of those wrestlers. Some of them, like for example, Hulk Hogan, who was believe it or not a heel at one point,
Okay.
and Andre the Giant.
I could definitely believe it because I don't know much about Hulk Hogan.
Right, I should probably give you more details about that. Who was also Andre the Giant, who was a face, right? And then
I know Andre
eventually
the Giant because he was in
the
Princess
Princess
Bride.
Bride, yes. And so basically, he started buying off these wrestling companies and these wrestlers, and then he kind of created the WWF, which is World Wrestling Federation. WWF. And then that's kind of when you start getting like the big like the WrestleMania one
Okay.
in
What
Madison
year
Square
was
Garden.
wrestling?
That's a good question. I think it was 1980 something. Is it okay if I use your phone?
Sir.
So the first WrestleMania. Oh, I don't know what that is. Let me see.
First WrestleMania
I want to say 1989,
was
but I'm not too sure. Close. Not really. 1985 was the first WrestleMania. And
1980.
yeah, isn't that crazy? So this is like your dad probably remembers this. I know my dad does.
That's like during the time of Stranger Things.
Yeah, exactly. So that was like peak 80s like entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when you had like the main match between Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, a tag team match, versus Paul Orndorff, this guy right here, Mr. Wonderful, and
When
Roddy
you
Piper.
talk about these people, you should put a picture of them.
Yeah, I was. Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper's like he's really cool. He was like anyways. And guess who was in their corner? Bob Orton, who is the father of Randy Orton. Isn't that crazy? So basically those were like they brought a lot of celebrities together. No, okay, I'm not gonna do it. He's right here. Randy Orton.
Oh, I know who.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
The Viper.
basically he just kind of like created this show, and that's what brought like media's attention. They got celebrities involved like Mr. T,
Okay.
Cindy Lauper, like everybody
Cindy
was involved.
Lauper.
Yeah, she was involved in a match, I think.
Cindy
um
Lauper.
yeah, yeah, that's like the most one of the
Cindy
most
Lauper.
famous people. Yeah, 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 exactly. So basically they brought wrestling together, and then eventually they were like, man, this is super successful.
Okay.
And then they created like WrestleMania 2, and then they kept going until where we're at now, which will be WrestleMania 42 again. The 42 years later.
WrestleMania 42.
Yeah. So basically, that's kind of like the whole history of like how it started. And so it started with like the main era, which is like there was a hero and the bad guy. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, right?
Hulk Hogan
Was
hero.
was a hero, right? He was a face.
Mm-hmm.
So
But when they found him, he was a bad guy.
yeah, yeah, he was playing as a bad guy. But
Okay, so face is hero.
yes,
Heel is bad guy.
this is probably the right time to talk about the terms that I want to introduce you to.
I don't know, because we're really diving deep.
But in order for me to move forward, I need to use some of these terms because I'll be using them a lot.
Okay.
Okay. So there's heel, which is a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
A face, which is a good guy.
Okay.
There is a pop, which is a crowd reaction. So if someone says, "Oh, that was a loud pop," that means that's when the crowd goes crazy. Like it's like really loud.
Okay.
So a pop. Kayfabe, which is basically staying in character.
Kayfabe.
Okay. A promo when a wrestler talks and builds hype, right?
Some of these I know, some of these I do not.
And then there's a work and a shoot. Like that's basically when a work is when it's scripted.
Okay.
Like for example, let's just say we're in a group of people and you punch me in the face, and everybody's, oh, they're breaking up, but they didn't know that it was a work that me and you put that together for the entertainment of other people.
Gotcha.
So that's a work. Then there's a shoot, which is real life blending in with the wrestling world.
Okay. So question.
Yes.
When that whole thing happened with
Uh huh.
and
Naomi. Uh huh. And Jade Cargill. Uh huh. Uh huh. Cargill. Jade Cargill.
Cargill.
Yeah, yeah.
Jade Cargill. Please forgive me, Marks. I am learning. Was that a work or was that shoot?
That was a work. Yeah. Yeah. So you remember, right? So her falling in the car, figuring out who it was.
Mm-hmm.
That was a work. This is where I'll show you an example of a shoot is CM Punk's pipe bomb. Him going off.
I do remember
right.
About that.
So it was real because CM Punk had real frustrations about the company that he wanted to voice out, and his contract was literally expiring. But in a way, it was also bleeding into the storyline that he had with John Cena, where he was gonna take the title. So Vince let him go off on the mic about how he truly felt, and so it was real, but it was also in a way it's a shoot.
Has there ever been like a true, and I know this is kind of getting off
Mhm.
the history. Has there ever been a true shoot, like a true
Like a real life situation?
like
Yes.
oh that's
Yeah.
freaking wild
Yeah.
kind of thing?
So one of them was the Montreal screw job, which I remember bringing up a
You've
while
mentioned
ago.
it, but I
Yeah.
tell you what it is.
Yeah,
Other than
which
not,
we can go into more details in another episode.
Okay.
But to sum it up really quickly, there was tension backstage between Vince and Bret Hart, who's another wrestler.
Okay.
And the match was between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series in Bret Hart's hometown. And so basically, what happened was Bret's contract was going to expire, but he was the champion, and Vince was afraid that he was going to go to WCW, which was a competition of WWF back then.
Maybe we'll hop into this
Yeah.
in a different episode.
Yes.
We can deep dive
Definitely.
in the Montreal screw.
Yes,
job.
the Montreal screw job. That was definitely somewhat real. So, and anyway, no, it was real, and then there's a lot to it.
Okay.
But yeah. So, anyways, WrestleMania becomes big. Then they create another pay per view called SummerSlam.
Okay.
Then they create another pay per view called Survivor Series.
Okay.
Then they bring the Royal Rumble.
Pay-per-views are the Saturday shows.
Thank you for reminding me that. Yes, they used to be called pay per views, and they used to be on Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah. Which sucked because if you went to school the next day, you were all groggy and your stomach was full from eating so much. But yes, those are shows that happen on the weekends once a month or once every other month, right? And they culminate storylines that that's kind of like the ending of that storyline or continuation of whatever the rivalry is going.
They're not on Sundays anymore.
No, some of them are. Most of them now are on Saturdays because, well, I'll get to them later on. But yeah, different topic.
There's
We're going on a
so
different one.
many
No,
things
but
that
but
we
that's
talk
all we're
about.
talking about here, which is actually good. So yeah, there's shows, right? But so the typical schedule is like what's coming up is Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber,
Do
WrestleMania.
each of these have like times of the years that they
Yes.
come out?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
So let me start with the four I mentioned: Royal Rumble,
Royal Rumble,
WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
Okay, let me guess. SummerSlam's definitely in the summer. Probably like midsummer, I'm assuming. July.
Definitely. Uh-huh.
I think I remember
July,
you
August.
watching July.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously I know WrestleMania. 'Cause believe it or not, even though I'm not much of a fan,
Yeah.
even though I'm not much of a fan, I've been to two WrestleManias.
Yeah, yeah.
One in Los Angeles because that is where we are located.
I just burped, sorry.
Gross. And the other one in Vegas last year because we are close by and we were able to drive.
And why the hell not?
And he's obsessed. And then you said the Royal Rumble.
The Royal Rumble is WrestleMania is during spring.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
That's April.
Yes.
Because it was an Easter.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So it's like April, May, or no?
Yeah.
April, March, April.
March, April. Mainly April. It used to be like late March, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mainly April.
Like the first WrestleMania was like March 31st.
Okay.
Right.
And then Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
I think is that one in February?
So that one's normally in January. Last year they for some reason had it February 1st, which was like the first time ever. But Royal Rumble is normally the beginning of the year, and that sets off the road to WrestleMania.
Is that the one? I might be wrong. Is that the one where there's like a bunch of people? It's like 12 men, 12 women or something.
30 men and 30 women.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
30 men.
And at one point it was like 40. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
And they're all like in one ring. And like it's like first
elimination.
Elimination. And it's outside of the ring.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you're outside of the ring, you're
yeah. Exactly. Over the top ropes. So the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. Royal Rumble is always in the beginning of the year. WrestleMania is spring. SummerSlam, which is like a WrestleMania 2, basically.
Okay.
That's kind of what it is. And then Survivor Series, which is a Thanksgiving tradition, normally in November. Um, Survivor Series is the one I just went to in San Diego for War Games. hmm So, though I only mentioned those four. Yes.
Is Elimination Chamber? I remember that's
Yeah.
a name.
Yeah.
Is that one of the
Yes.
big pay-per-views?
But I'm gonna
We
get to
won't
that in a
get to that
second.
one.
No, I will.
Oh,
I'm gonna get to that in a second. So I mentioned those four: Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series because those are called the Big Four.
Ooh.
Those wrestling shows are like at a bigger scale. Sometimes they tend to take place in stadiums. The other ones can also take place in stadiums, but they also take place in like smaller arenas.
Okay.
So those Big Four were they're called the Big Four because those are the oldest wrestling shows from the 80s. So
Okay.
they have a longer tenure. Then there you have other pay-per-views like Elimination Chamber, which kind of encompasses a road to WrestleMania. Yes.
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 We don't have to do. Actually, I don't want us to do this now, but I would like to get a history of each of
Yes.
where each of these
Yeah.
pay-per-views started. Who started them? Why they started?
Mm-hmm.
What they entail?
Yeah.
And details.
100%. And I think it's good we can start with Royal Rumble and WrestleMania because those are the ones that are coming up right now.
Okay.
Hence why we're starting the podcast so soon because I wanted to go with the year. Yeah, so you'll get to learn everything by the end of December of next year. Hopefully, we continue this and it goes well, and we, are in a healthy marriage. Things, will work out, and you'll know more about
Okay.
wrestling. So, anyways, so yeah, so there's a big four. And so back to my stories, went on hella tangents. Basically, the big thing is those wrestling shows were always going on since
Okay.
the '80s. Okay, and WrestleMania being the biggest one. That's like the main event, the climax of the whole storylines that are going on. Okay, so wrestling started then. There's different eras. The first one is like the most famous one, which is where Hulk Hogan was around, Andre the Giant, the Ultimate Warrior. Let me show you a picture of the Ultimate Warrior. Um, Roddy Piper. Let me see, Ultimate Warrior. You may not know who he is, but he's a very big deal because he was like the next up and coming Hulk Hogan.
Never seen him in my life.
Never seen him in his life. Perfect. So that's the Ultimate Warrior.
Her life.
Did I say her life? My bad. Um, so let me show you the eras in WWE. So there's different eras. The first era is called the Golden Era, and it was in the 80s. That's when you had someone like Hulk Hogan, you had Andre the Giant,
Okay.
you had the Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, which you're kind of very loosely familiar with, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Everybody knows who the Macho Man is. You may not know, but you probably have heard someone try to imitate him because everybody loves the Macho Man. So that's the golden era because it was the 80s, it was popping. And then basically getting closer to the 90s, wrestling was kind of going downhill because, at least, sorry, WWF was going downhill because there was a new promotion coming out called WCW, World Championship Wrestling. And WCW was the competition to WWF. And they were getting a lot of traction because they were getting new superstars like Sting, right? They were getting new superstars in the future like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, right? They all came through that. Booker T, which I'll mention who he is later. These are all wrestlers that are starting to compete with them. All right. Um, so then when the so basically, that wrestling company was trying to imitate the golden era of WWF, and so Vince was like, you know what? Let me make things more interesting because I gotta change. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. So he's kind of getting a taste of his own medicine because this WCW company starts recruiting wrestlers like Hulk Hogan, which was the biggest one. They pull Hulk Hogan into WCW, and that's where the famous like Hulk Hogan heel turn happened, where he became Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and he became a bad guy. hmm
Isn't there also a Hollywood Rock?
Yes, so really good point. I'm so glad. 3,000 points. Basically, if you start realizing the whole Hollywood term, Hulk Hogan made it famous because he started going into Hollywood. That's why you would see him in movies a lot during that time. And so Pete, there was like a whole thing of like, well, if they left wrestling to go to Hollywood, they're not one of us anymore. They're fake. And so that's where the whole anytime you put
hear that,
Hollywood,
Rock? You're fake.
Well, now he's the final boss. But when Hollywood became the Hulk Hogan heel turn was Hollywood Hulk Hogan,
Okay.
and that's why the term Hollywood became like a heelish thing.
Sweet.
So then The Rock kind of imitated by Hollywood Rock, and then now John Cena. Obviously, he wasn't called Hollywood or Cena. He was a heel Cena, but think about it, he was more in the acting business than he was in wrestling over the last couple
Mm.
5 years, and so he kind of pulled up the heelish persona. So, anyways, WCW started getting all these wrestlers to from WWF, and then eventually, like Shawn Michaels came around, and he was like the next big thing. Bret Hart, and so they were like the next up and coming people that were gonna take over. So, they were called the New Generation. And so the new generation revolved around Shawn Michaels, who you know, Undertaker, you very well know. Bret Hart, he's the guy from the Montreal Screwjob. Razor Ramon, and then Diesel. So these are like one of the top. There's more wrestlers. Yeah, like Vin Diesel, but just Diesel. Um, Also known in the future as Kevin Nash. So these are all the wrestlers that are still widely known today. But that was a new generation after all these kind of like either retired or they went to WCW and they had to reinvent themselves. And then WCW ends up kind of doing the same thing. And so they're going back and forth. And eventually WCW is just winning. And Vince was like, I really have to make some changes.
What's
Yes.
WCW stand for?
World Championship Wrestling.
World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
And then
World
Wrestling
Federation. Yes.
And that was Vince's.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other one.
This guy named Ted Turner, who also owned Time Warner Cable. And then eventually, is your mic on?
Yeah, I accidentally just pressed a button.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know what I pressed.
Ted Turner, but then the person who was fully in charge of it was Eric Bischoff, who
Eric Bischoff.
we'll probably get to another episode. There's just so much lore I got to cover.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to go quickly so that way we could kind of wrap things up because we're at 54 minutes already. But shortly after that, they were like, we need to create a new generation. And think about it. During the 90s, the MTV movement was big, right? Adult entertainment was big. All of a sudden, people in the 80s were big on eating your vegetables, taking your vitamins, make sure you drink your milk in the 80s. Everything was about safety.
Okay.
It was about making sure that you had a family, you had a good car. Everything was about living a safe life. In the 90s, that's when hip hop starts blowing up even more. That's when rock becomes even more popular. That's when MTV starts rotting the minds of the kids.
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, right. So all those things were about rebelling against the system. And so while WCW and WWF were like doing the same thing about the good guy and the bad guy, eventually what WWF did is we need to create the Attitude Era. And they were like where there's no rules, where it's more adult, where it's unfiltered, like it's just gonna be aggressive.
Okay.
And the face of that Attitude Era, can you guess who it was? Who kind of ushered that in? Stone Cold Steve Austin. Hence,
Steve Austin.
no one would ever show the middle finger in front of everyone on the screen. Stone Cold eventually did. And then they were just breaking. Like his first saying was like Austin 3:16, which resembles the Bible, John 3:16. And back then that was kind of problematic because it was like, why are you quoting the Bible?
Still potentially could be problematic.
Yeah, but it's Austin 3:16. Everybody loves it. You know what I mean? Even the Christians do. But anyways, then that's when you get The Rock, right? You get Triple H, right? You start getting Kane, right? Which is Undertaker's brother.
Undertaker's a brother?
Yeah, it's a storyline that we'll have to get to another time. There's so much. I'm just trying to go through like a very quickly situation of the eras. You get Mankind, right? AKA Mick Foley. That's where you get the famous Undertaker throwing him from the Hell in a Cell and his teeth fall off and he breaks a bunch of ribs and bones. So it becomes more bloody, becomes more aggressive. Gore, boobs, everything you could think of. Yeah, no, it was crazy. Okay. That was like the peak and everybody loved it.
Gore.
Yeah, the thing that brings people together. Just kidding. So eventually, all that happens, and so that's what brings everybody. That's what gets everyone's attention. That's why when I say, you think of a wrestler, you bring up Undertaker, right? You bring up Stone Cold, you bring up The Rock, because those were like that's what peaked it at its highest
Mm-hmm.
level. The entertainment was amazing. The storylines were felt real. The fighting felt real. Was like headshots that were real. Blood that was coming out.
Which
Right.
is what I was saying
Yeah.
before of
Mm-hmm.
like the chairs used to be real chairs,
Yeah.
right? And
And they were
now they're like,
headshots, not back shots.
right.
Ah, just kidding. It's a different story. But I didn't say that. Anyways, keep going. Keep going. Keep
They
going.
were like real metal because
Yes.
now when they hit them with the chair, like
I hear it still hurts though, but
I mean,
I don't want to get hit by a chair.
it does
Yeah.
when you get hit by anything,
Yeah.
but it looks like it's like a an aluminum that's like
Yeah.
light enough to bend but thick enough to like take shape. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Attitude Era was all about giving attitude. Think about the
Mhm.
90s. That's everything was about,
Mhm.
the middle finger to the
Yeah.
authority figure.
Mhm.
Screw everybody. I'm living my own life. Drugs, all that kind of stuff. You know what I
Get
mean?
it.
So WWF was then. Eventually what happened is there was this company that took care of animals, and it was also called the Wild World Wild Life something. It was called WWF.
Ooh.
So when I type in WWF now,
I should record
World
sound effects.
Wildlife Fund.
Oh.
Oh,
Wait, that still exists.
yes. So this right here, which I put a logo about it, is the WWF. And they were like, hey, you can't use our name. And so they had to change their name.
So how did they got by for like 10 years using that?
That's a great question. I don't know.
And why would Vince McMahon not what's the word?
Know about it?
Not know. Well, yeah, know about it, but why would he not like buy the name before that?
I don't know. That's a good. Maybe people in the comment section can talk about that. But that is a good point. But they basically won the battle,
Okay.
and so they had to change the name. And they said, "We're gonna introduce. We're gonna call it World Wrestling Entertainment." And that's kind of where people would say WE, and the slogan was "Get the F out," which is kind of funny.
Oh.
But eventually in WWE, that's kind of where some people argue that wrestling went downhill for a lot of people
So when
after the
WWE
90s.
became WWE.
Yep. Yeah.
Is that?
So, yeah. So let me.
He's got a mustache.
Yeah, it's a different. This picture's a little messed up, but basically, I wish I could organize you and have all the photos together, but it'll take too much time. That's like 2018 Randy Orton. We're talking like 2003. Anyway, stop getting wet over Randy Orton. So eventually what happened was
that was a crazy comment.
Just kidding.
Okay.
And then so you gotta get used to the wrestling community.
Okay.
We're very like direct. Just kidding. Some of them aren't. Maybe they are online. But during the 2000s, Stone Cold got injured. He had a neck injury and he just didn't want to wrestle anymore. The Rock went to Hollywood, right? He started coming out in the movie The Mummy, and other movies. They were like they were running out of wrestlers that were like the main attraction. The wrestlers started leaving, like Shawn Michaels, right?
Okay.
They were all just like, what do we do now? And so they needed a new face because during the WWF era, it was Stone Cold and The Rock. That was like the biggest one. And by the way, their biggest match was WrestleMania 17, which we'll cover probably closer to WrestleMania.
Stone Cold and the Rock.
And we'll probably watch it so you could see it. And then we'll do like a reaction about it because that's one match that everybody knows. It's like one of the best matches like ever. And that's kind of where it kind of died down after that. So they were like, we need someone new. We need like to create a new era, and we need someone with ruthless aggression. And that's what the title of that era is called, which is 2003, 2004, maybe 2004, all the way till like 2006 or 2007. And that was the ruthless aggression era. And who is most known for that is none other than the man who just retired, John Cena.
I was gonna say that. Is it John Cena?
Yeah, it is. So that's when you get the big four wrestlers that were kind of in the developmental stage. Can you name them?
Cena,
Yeah.
CM Punk. Right?
He was in the Indies, which I should talk about the Indies later.
Okay.
And then there was. Can you think of? You name one of them because you like their mustache. All of a sudden, was one of them, and then there's two more. They're very famous.
Edge.
I would add him to that. Yes.
Because
But I would add him to that. Yeah.
With Edge and John Cena.
Yeah, I would add him to that. Good call. Good call. And two more.
Can I have a hint?
He is in this picture. Brock Lesnar, and one more. Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the clue. Batista.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
I only know Batista from
which is sad because Batista, like, oh god, I gotta show you his theme song and everything. I love Batista. He's one of my favorite.
Theme song for him.
No. Oh god. Okay. Anyways.
Remind me of a guardian.
So basically, those were like the top. I would say 5, but I only mentioned those 4 because they were part of a developmental, which is now known as NXT.
Okay.
Back then, it was called OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Oh,
that was WWE's like developmental, and so they were the ones that kind of took over WWE during this era. That's why Brock Lesnar beat The Rock, won the title at a very young age. Randy Orton became champion.
Wait, Brock Lesnar beat The Rock?
Yeah, their only match in like 2000. He
Was
was like, I can't remember his age, but he was really young. He was like in his 20s.
Lesnar not older than The Rock? Is The Rock older than Brock Lesnar?
I don't know. Let's look into that.
Well,
we'll get to that eventually. Okay. But those were the ones. And so the Ruthless Aggression era is the wrestling that I grew up on. So the Attitude Era, technically I was alive for. My cousins watched it. Mm-hmm. They would do I knew who Stone Cold was because for some reason my cousin gave me a Stone Cold teddy bear. It was like a plushie. So he was just like this and bald. And I really liked that. And then like my cousins used to pass down toys to me. Okay. Some of them were like The Rock and Rey Mysterio, who was technically still part of WCW. But yeah, they kind of freeze. But eventually what happened was, actually this is probably a little better. And Kurt Angle. I forgot I mentioned Kurt Angle. And Triple H was also still more popular then.
Oh yeah.
So then
Henry Harrison Hank.
No. We'll mention that later. But basically, Ruthless Aggression Ruthless Aggression era is the period that I grew up on because that's when I started I was in 5th grade and I started watching wrestling more than usual. Excuse me. And that's why for us in the Ruthless Aggression era, John Cena was like our favorite one, you know? Mm-hmm. Then
John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even
everybody knew who he was.
Child, and I didn't know I didn't know wrestling at all. I knew that.
And that's the beauty of wrestling. It breaks through culture. It breaks through everything. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows it, whether you watched it or not. Everybody loves wrestling. Okay. You know, to some capacity. And so everyone
loves wrestling.
The Ruthless Aggression era was a time that John Cena was fighting against Edge. Okay. Batista was fighting against Undertaker. Okay. Shawn Michaels came back. Triple H was also wrestling. There was so much to cover. And also during that time in 2005 was when Eddie Guerrero passed away because he was also part of that. And that's like a very important part in our wrestling history. Eddie Guerrero
is connected to Rey Mysterio, who's connected to...
Who is Dom's dad.
Dirty Dom's.
Eddie Guerrero's is Dom's son.
What?
Eddie Guerrero.
You said Eddie Guerrero.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Son? Dom's dad?
Yeah.
Dom's real dad.
Yeah. Just I don't know. We don't know. We know, but we don't know. Kayfabe. See? So, I could already tell my wife's cringing about me, but I don't really care. I don't know. Are you?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, cool.
But now that you said it, I'm going.
Anyways, so Eddie Guerrero died, and then eventually, it kind of started like it started becoming more real. Like, oh, like this is like sad. There was like a huge like drug issue going on with the wrestlers that was being exposed. So during like the 2005, 2006, 2007, in all sports, people were starting to come out.
We're gonna talk about the deaths of.
Yeah, we just call it the deaths of.
The deaths.
Yeah, that could be even in its own series. Yeah, there's so much we can cover, but eventually, it'll be morbid. That eventually, what it did is that created like this reality in the sports world of like, hey, people are doing drugs to enhance their abilities and to look muscular. And so like in the sports world, people were just being called out because people were dying. People were having side effects that were leading to suicide. They were leading to illnesses. They were leading to addiction,
Mm-hmm.
pain addictions, because those chair shots were real. You know what I mean? People were genuinely getting hurt, not getting enough sleep. People were, doing drugs while they were going on tour. And eventually, Eddie Guerrero was dealing with, some drug addictions. And so, he died from it. And so, a lot of people were sad about it because it makes you realize, man, these people are working really hard for our entertainment, and it just becomes real. And so then,
Mm-hmm.
uh, soon after, 2 years later, the famous Chris Benoit story where he murders his family and then commits suicide. I should probably not say that word. Unalives himself and takes his family. And basically, like, that's when people argue that the ruthless aggression era ended, because Vince was brought to a situation where he had to make it where kids can watch it and
Mm.
not just adults. And that introduces everyone into the PG era.
Which is where John Cena came.
Yeah. See, have you noticed, like, there's different wrestlers, but the PG era is just John Cena because he was literally the Superman. They marketed him as basically, yeah, like Superman. He had the colorful shirts. He would beat everybody. So they kind of were going back to kind of like the golden era, but John Cena was like, you know, all the kids love him. I mean, I loved him. You know what I mean? I was still like in middle school, and I was like, yeah, I love John Cena. But the adults that grew up on the golden era, who grew up on the ruthless aggression era, who grew up on the attitude era, they were like, we don't want the good guy. We want more compelling stories. And so that's when the whole Cena, let's go Cena sucks thing was going on, and they needed like bad guys, and they were realizing that the only person that kept going over, which was a wrestling term, by the way, which is like winning and always winning, basically.
Going over means
Like, you're winning,
winning.
basically.
Okay.
You're winning the wrestling match. You're winning with the crowd. You're winning. It could be going over with people backstage.
So like Roman Reigns.
Yeah, exactly. So eventually, that's when the birth of CM Punk. Well, he was already around. He was around tech in the Indies during.
He was born.
Well, he wasn't born.
Just kidding.
He was around during the Attitude Era.
Okay.
Technically, he was like a teen wrestling, mainly towards the end.
Okay.
He was starting his journey, and then like the Ruthless Aggression era, he was already contracted with ECW, which is another wrestling promotion. And then that's when like Punk kind of took it to a whole different level, where now there were like the pipe bombs, the kayfabe started coming back, the reality started coming back, and then the whole famous CM Punk and John Cena rivalry happened in like 2011. Then Daniel Bryan, this other wrestler, came around who was from the Indies. So it was like the whole idea of like the underdog story. The Indies were it's another wrestling companies outside of WWE that are low budget and all that. And then they introduced the reality era, which is like kind of when you started sort of getting more exposed to it with the Ronda Rousey stuff. And Daniel Bryan was like a big member in that. That's when you start getting like all these wrestlers like The Shield, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. And then like, yeah, all the wrestlers now for the most part who are already older started becoming famous then. Yeah, the Dolph Ziggler, yeah, Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, like those are all wrestlers that start coming in, and then now the PG era ended. They started making it more than just entertainment. They started making it like cinema. That was like the big term that kept going around because with the Roman Reigns,
So they're making it more
cinematic.
Hollywood.
Yeah, someone could argue that, right? So we go into that a different day. So many things we have to cover, but that's kind of where it is now. There's different. There's the what do they call it? The Renaissance era because they brought back wrestling. They call it the Netflix era. They call it different things, and so that's kind of where we are at now, where everything's more story based, cinematic, more acting, also kayfabe, and also shoots and works happening at the same time.
So when did because I think you meant to mention this, but you ended up going off on all the eras. When did WWE buy
Yes,
the other wrestling the
WCW.
'Cause
Yeah,
I know that was a thing
yeah.
from what you've told me
Mm-hmm.
before.
Yeah.
is they were on like a competition and they started going back and forth.
Yeah.
Like wasn't one. Maybe we'll take that for a different.
Yeah, I could just answer it quickly. It was WWE during the end of the WWF era, and
okay, so during the end of WWF era,
yeah, and they bought them out of business.
when
When WWF won because the Monday Night Wars were going on.
Okay.
Raw.
I think I'd like to also dive into a history, not today, but dive into a history at one point, an episode about where Raw and SmackDown came from.
Oh yeah.
Along the lines of when we speak about the pay-per-views and where they came from.
Good call. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Also,
and the other wrestling companies too.
And the other wrestling
companies. Which I want to cover today, but there's a lot.
Yeah. And then me personally, I would also love to get a kind of history of the women.
Oh my gosh, that's a good point. Which really quickly, the reality era, which is what they call it, which is like the 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, was they call it the I think they called it the Divas Revolution because they were like, we don't want to be called divas anymore. We want to just be called women in wrestling. Because remember, WWF was always about boobs and hot women. And I mean, they had like a bras and panties match at one point. Yeah, I know. But they were like kind of degrading. But remember, that was also the life in America. No, and now, so as you notice, as culture moves, so does wrestling. And that's why wrestling eventually sometimes catches up. And sometimes people argue that wrestling informs our culture. It tells us about where we're at as a society and what we value. And right now, it seems like we value stories. We value compelling stories about life.
Value not living in reality because sometimes
that is another podcast. We might have to be its own podcast. But yeah, so that's kind of like, I know I went through a lot. The main thing I wanted to cover was the eras and the WrestleMania, like how that's like the big thing because that's coming up. So I talked a lot. Is there any questions you have? Anything you're like, man, this is weird?
No questions.
Are you in love with wrestling?
I am not in love with wrestling yet, but I do have an appreciation for it.
All right.
But maybe throughout this podcast, you can get me to love wrestling.
What if the finale is you finally confess your love for wrestling? Or not. That'll be like the lingering question every episode.
Maybe that it might be a lingering question for a while.
We could do like a little meter. Like, where are you at? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, okay, what if the meter is 0 to 100? Because there's going to be a couple episodes, hopefully.
I don't know. I give me a little bit more time.
You can move an increment or two. You don't have to be like, I'm at 20%. Because remember, hopefully we do a lot of episodes, but...
Okay, I think I'm at an interest state, which I would say I'm probably at like a 10%. Maybe 15.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like 3 or 4.
Yeah, maybe I'm being generous.
Maybe you are.
I think I need to see a scale.
Okay.
We'll see a scale. Then next time around, I'll be able to... I'm a visual person.
All right.
See what the scale looks like.
Yeah. I just realized how much there is to all of this.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, and you want to go? This is like in depth.
I know.
Yeah, I barely feel like I like.
You were like, let's do a short little podcast, like something small. I thought it was gonna be like 30 minutes. It's been an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I'll cut it into other episodes. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I don't know what the outro should be. Quack. I'm just kidding. No. I don't know. You're gonna sing for us? You can sing us a song. That's all I got for you. Good. That's a song I want to release on TikTok.
I do. I think we should.
No, that'd be cool because then I cut that into a video. Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
All right.
Well,
that's it. I covered.
You covered
a little
covered
and a lot. A little and a lot.
Yeah.
But enough for our first episode.
Maybe too much for a first episode.
Maybe too much, but I'm gonna cut into pieces, so you might not get the full extent. But yeah.
Well,
for the love of wrestling.
Thanks for watching. For the love of wrestling.
I'm Byron.
I'm Natalie. And
we don't do well with outros.
Cheers.
Subscribe, like, comment, TikTok, YouTube for the Love Wrestling. Those are the 2 channels I have right now. I know on YouTube I have 490 something subscribers, and then TikTok 200 and something. It's not much, but hey, it's something we could start with. So
Cool.
All right.
Well, for the Love of Wrestling, we're outie.
All right.